Hello, and welcome back to the Waistline Podcast. This is Lee Syatt, your host, in for another week at the new office. I've survived. It still looks like a prison cell, but I will, hopefully by the next time, and if not the next time, definitely the time after that, we'll have some decorations in here. I have a green screen that I'm putting up, but it didn't, I don't want to put holes in the wall. And command strips apparently don't attach to cloth. So I have some other plans, but I'm having a great time in the office, and I actually have very exciting news. Not only the guest we have this week, Mr. Jeff Nichols, but I have exciting weight loss news. So if you're just joining today for the first time, I am losing weight for the millionth time. And in December, I think it was either December 2nd or 3rd of 2020, and I have it in my phone. I don't want to trying to be professional and not look at my phone. So either December 2nd or 3rd of 2020, I weighed in at 336 pounds. And you may be asking yourself, Lee, are you 10 feet tall? No, I am 5'4". I should not be anywhere near 236 pounds. That's way too much. But I was at 336 pounds. It's just how much I weighed. And today is May 1st, actually. I am recording this a couple days early, or earlier than I normally do, because on Sunday, May 2nd, it is a combination of my second vaccination shot and my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. And I wanted to make sure on Monday that, which is when I normally record this, that if I was feeling a little bit icky, that I could still have an episode out for you. So that's why I'm recording this on May 1st. But I weigh in every Tuesday. So I weighed in on April 27th. And if you remember from last week, I was at 69.2 pounds down. So that's pretty good. But I am I was hoping that I would cross the 70-pound plateau, and I regret to inform you that I totally did. Haha, I tricked you. I did. I lost a lot of weight last week. I lost 4.6 or not. God dang it! Now I am going to look at my phone. I'm sorry. I lost 4.4 pounds. So I am down 73.6 pounds. I honestly don't know why I lost so much weight last week. And this week I probably won't. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I've been really good. Last week I guess I was really good on my eating, working out. I still honestly, I do 2 kettlebell workouts a week and 2 walks. That's really it. It's not anything that strenuous. But I am being very good on my diet, not really having too much dessert ever. At most, I usually have Outshine sugar-free, or not sugar-free, no sugar added popsicle for 25 calories. But this week, I still think I'll lose weight because I've been pretty good. But I did have a little bit of an oopsie daisy. It's not even an oopsie daisy. I still counted my calories, but I had more than I probably should have. On Tuesdays when I weigh in, I have give myself a few extra calories. And my mom had wanted wings, and wings are one of my favorite foods. And shout out to Wings Over Worcester, delicious. I was gonna go to Wingstop, but my mom said she had heard about this place, and it was amazing. And I did. I had a salad still, and I counted my calories, but it was fried wings, and there's blue cheese, and I had a couple French fries. Not my own order. I had a couple. I swear to gosh. But I had 8 wings, and then the next day, because I had leftovers, I had 8 wings again. So it was 2 days in a row where it really should only be 1 day, and that was my fault. But it happens, and I I've been really good the last 2 days on my eating, and I'm going to continue to be good tonight, tomorrow, and Monday. So hopefully I'll still lose a couple pounds. I'm very close to where I was. It's tough when you see the scale go up. It went up like 2 pounds after my wings. And I know in my heart and my head, no, I'll put it this way. I know in my head that I didn't gain 2 pounds from having 8 wings on Tuesday and Wednesday. But I do know that it was more than I normally eat, and I probably shouldn't have had any French fries. And I should probably get, baked wings instead of fried wings. Because I know I don't want to fall into the same habits that I did when I gained weight every other time. So even though I'm not happy that I had wings, and like I said, I still counted my calories. I think Wings Over is actually I don't know if it's a national chain, but I think it is a chain, and mine is called Worcester, because that's where I live close to. But they list their calories, and I still counted everything, and I didn't have. Oh, I did. Okay, so that I was about to say I didn't have dessert. Wednesday I didn't have dessert. Tuesday, I think the reason why it said I gained a little bit of weight, and it's not even that bad of a dessert. I had popcorners. They're like, if you ever have flown JetBlue, they're like little puffed, I think that's rice chips. They're not fried, I don't think. But I got the kettle corn version. Oh, they were so good because I don't really have any sweets. They were so good. So I had like 2 servings of that with everything. So I went a little bit overboard on Tuesday, and I have to. It's like the which one was that? Was it? It was a Iron Man movie. I'm pretty sure. I think it was number 3, where they were giving everybody the drug to make them like superhuman and like regenerate or whatever. And the guy said you have to regulate. I have to learn to regulate and make sure that I like I said, I don't fall into those same traps, because I don't want to gain the weight back. But I also know that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm addicted to food, and I love food, and that's specifically why I don't really have a cheat day. I know. I mean, I just told you I had wings, but I want to clarify in a way. When I think of the word cheat day, I think it's like calories don't count, eat like I used to eat, candy bars, ice cream, McDonald's. I still counted the calories. I still limited myself. I was under 2,000 for the day, and or maybe right at 2,000, and it was sort of. I mean, some people call it an earned meal. I mean, I had a great week. I lost 4.5 pounds, but I just give myself a little bit of leeway. It's a leeway meal. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully, on next week's episode, I'll have lost a pound or 2. Hopefully, maybe even a little bit more. We'll see. And it's a journey. Like I've said on all the other podcasts, my goal. So right now I'm at 73.4. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone again. Yep. So no, 73.6. So that's even better. So I'm at 73.6 pounds down total, which is amazing. I'm very happy with that. But I'm getting close to, I don't know the exact number, but I know in the past I've never hit 100 pounds down, and I should have. It's always around 80 or 90 pounds is where I hit plateaus and stop, and that's not going to happen this time. So my goal is by my birthday in late July to hit 100 pounds down, which is, if I'm down 73.6, that means I'm 26.4 pounds away in May, June, 2.5 months. it's gonna be close. I definitely I can't let the wing thing happen, and it's going to be an interesting month this month in May of 2021 because I have a business trip to Denver coming up May 10th to the 17th. Don't worry, you'll have an episode, I promise. But I usually traveling for me is one of the worst times for me eating wise. I love bringing snack. I love everything about it. I love going and before the flight and getting snacks to either bring for the plane or for the hotel room because there's nothing better than snacks in a hotel room. I love ordering delivery to a hotel room. Oh my god. I eat in every hotel bed that I have. But even though I do, and I think I have a king bed this time, baller in a Holiday Inn. But sometimes I actually like the two queen beds because then I have a food bed and a sleeping bed. Because when you only have one bed, sometimes crumbs get in the bed, and that's an upsetting. I hate. And for someone who's eaten in beds way too much, I used to eat like all the time in bed when I was single. I mean, I still am single. But when I lived alone and had like a TV in my room, I would just lay in bed, put a towel down, get some food. Ooh, happiness. But there's nothing more upsetting about being in a bed with crumbs. And so I like having sometimes to have the two beds. But this time I'm going for business. I will probably be having it's another one of the benefits of eating one meal a day. As long as I can stick to it, and I have been for 5 months, it's nice because it just takes the not really the temptation, but kind of temptation out of it. And what I mean by that is when I can have lunch and dinner, I just make like you just heard. I had wings 2 nights in a row. I make bad choices. So the fact that I can only have one meal a day, like okay, just for an example, there's 2 things I want to eat in Denver, and I can't have both. So I'm gonna have to make a decision, and I think I know which way I'm going already. But I was talking with some friends the other night, and I brought up Culver's, which I think is honestly the best fast food place out there. They make it to order, delicious. They have custard. It's a home run, and I've experienced it when I was in Milwaukee this summer, and I found out they have it in Denver. And so I was going to get this and this and everything I used to get, but I fly in on a Monday, and that's my light night because of my weigh-in on Tuesday. So I'm going to have to fly with a scale. That's funny. So I'm definitely bringing my scale, and so I can't have anything Monday night. Tuesday night, I can have something to eat, but then the rest of the week, I have to be careful because I'm probably going to be eating in mostly restaurants, and eating in restaurants can be a dangerous thing. It can be a bad scenario. You're not really sure what they're putting into it, if the servings are right. So I actually might even just go to a grocery store. And the problem is I'm going to be working with somebody, so I'm going to have to go out sometimes. But I'll have to make good choices. But the second thing I want to eat in Denver is they have something called green chili. And it's not like bean chili, but it's like sort of like a mix between a sauce and a soup. Oh my God. Just amazing. I've been to Denver once, and I had it, and it was delicioso. It's spicy. They put it on burgers. They put it on eggs. They'd put it on anything. They put it on my thumb, and I'd eat it. And I think, so what I'm learning to do with this eating plan that I'm on is to, I think I've said it multiple times, is sort of budget my calories. So I have really one Tuesday night is the one time I get to have a little bit more calories. And as much as I like Culver's, a burger's a burger. And custard, I mean, when I come from the East Coast. I had no idea what custard was. And the way it was described to me was it was ice cream with more fat. So I don't even really want to know. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I want to see if I can find what the calories of what I used to have was. That's going to be depressing. So I used to have something called a cement mixer. Okay, so they have a nutrition grid. Let's see if I can. I'm sure I can. Concrete mixers. Here it is. Okay. So I had, and I put two things in it. Let's see if I can even figure it out or how this works here. Okay. So yeah, it's gonna be even less. So I got a large concrete mixer, and I put Snickers and Reese's in it usually, and they only have one. Yeah, wow, that is upsetting. It is 1,440 calories, and that's a large one. So sometimes I get a regular, and that's 980 calories. But I would also put Snickers in it, and so that's Reese's. Let's see what Snickers says, because I definitely had Snickers. Why don't I see Snickers? They might not have it here. Okay, yeah, they don't have. So just imagine if it's between 1,000 and 1,500 calories. Oh, here's toppings. Here we go. Snickers. Where are you, Snickers? You sons of bitches. Oh, here we go. They have it as 130 calories, but I would imagine for different size things, it could probably be more. So it was between 1,100 and 1,600 calories, and believe you me, I was having double cheeseburgers and French fries and spicy chicken sandwiches. So, I could just taste it. As much as I do enjoy Culver's, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. Let me just see here how much it would be with a small, which is going to be very upsetting for me to order. A mini is $5.10, and so a short is $7.90. It really just isn't worth it. I could eat okay. So here's one of my favorite desserts now that I go with, and I'll probably just bring some, is rice cakes. Caramel rice cakes and apple cinnamon rice cakes. Chocolate rice cakes I like them, but they kind of have a weird aftertaste. An entire bag of 14 rice cakes, which I could eat, but won't eat. 14 rice cakes is 700 calories. So I could eat an entire bag of rice cakes for less calories than a regular, cement mixer, a concrete mixer. Sorry. So that is unfortunately going to have to be in the past, because wow, that is upsetting. When you're not looking at calories, it really does surprise me. Even though it doesn't, I knew intellectually that it wasn't good for me to have that. I'm not saying I thought it was healthy, but I had no idea that it was the amount of calories I have in a day now, 1,500 calories, in the dessert. And I had I had 2 full meals outside of that. So, it's no wonder I got to 336 pounds, is it? But now I'm down to 262.4. Very exciting. And, 262.6 or 0.4. Let me be honest with you guys. 262.4. I'll even show you. Here, let me just pull up my camera so I can see what I'm showing you. Can you see that? This is my Patreon where I put it, where I follow it. I think you can see it. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. Believe me. Why would I lie? Why would I say I'm 262.4 if I wasn't? That's an embarrassing thing to be. But that's where I'm at. And thank you all very much for the support and for following me. Thank you very much to our sponsor, Manscaped, Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off with free shipping with code Syatt, SYATT, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using code Syatt. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And they make products to keep your family jewels nice and pretty and smelling good. So go to manscaped.com, check it out. And if you want to buy anything, use the code word Syatt, SYATT, and you will get 20% off with free shipping. Now, on to our esteemed guest for the week. I am very honored to introduce you to Jeff Nichols. It's Jeff Nichols, not like the money, but like the last name, Nichols. Jeff was on The Biggest Loser, season 14, which I believe he said was in 2014. Yep, 2013, 2014. So it was about 7 or 8 years ago. And Jeff came in second, and he lost by just 1 pound, which must have been heartbreaking because you get apparently you get $250,000 when you win Biggest Loser. But we talk a lot about the show, about him before Biggest Loser, why he went on, and what he feels about the show, how he feels about it now, and he has mixed feelings about it, and which is very understandable. It's I purposely didn't watch the show because it would shine a light just on myself that I probably should be doing losing weight. There's people have mixed emotions about The Biggest Loser. A lot of the contestants end up gaining weight back, and Jeff is very open about it. We talk about it. He's gained some of it back, not all of it, but he said he's gained I think like 75% of it back. But he's recently been losing weight again, and I put people on. I told you already that there's a listener call, which I will be releasing maybe next week with a woman named Kristen, I believe. I don't have that in front of me, but I have that's what my memory says. So if I'm remembering that incorrectly, I apologize, but I'm almost positive that's your name. When she reached out for the same reason, that she had gained some weight back after losing a lot of weight. And some people might not agree with me putting that on the show. It's supposed to be a show about losing weight, but the reason why I will always put people on, no matter if they haven't, I want to talk to people who haven't started losing weight, who know they need to. So if you want to be on, email me, waistlinepodcast@gmail.com. But the specific reason why I am putting Jeff on and why I put Kristen on, or I'm going to put Kristen on, is everyone who's lost weight has gained it back. So I really hope you guys will be kind and understanding with Jeff, because every single one of us, whether you're big or not, has gained weight back. No one. Everyone can relate to gaining weight, and has nothing to do with who he is as a person. And it's a struggle that I've been through. I'm currently wearing my old fat pants after during the whatever it's called, pandemic. I gained more weight before I started, and even before then, these fat pants, which were 4 inches bigger than the last time I lost weight, eventually became skinny jeans, and I literally couldn't fit into them. But now I'm almost out of them. I'm almost back into my skinnier jeans, and I really do hope that we as a group, I really have a lot of faith in you, that you will listen to what Jeff has to say and understand that no one is perfect, and understand that when you have an issue with food, that just because you lose weight doesn't mean that issue is going away. Unfortunately, losing weight doesn't fix any mental issues you have with food. And Jeff is just like you and me. You and I? No, you and me. I was right. Jeff is a normal person. So just because he was on a television show doesn't mean he gets held to higher standards. He is a great person. He worked very hard on the show, and he's working very hard right now to get back down to a lower weight. But I'm doing this because we're all Jeff. We all make wrong turns, and we all either gain weight back, or maybe you're listening and you don't have a weight issue. So maybe, who knows, maybe you've started smoking again. Maybe you've started drinking again. Maybe you play too many video games. Whatever it is, it's easy to throw stones and to judge other people. And it takes a lot more kindness and work to understand that everyone goes through things. So I am honored to introduce you to Jeff Nichols and introduce you to someone who has worked out and been through more weight loss wise than I will ever. I would never survive The Biggest Loser, much less make it to the final two and lose over 100 pounds. And he's an inspiration to me. He's a very great person, and I think you're really going to enjoy this episode, though. So thank you very much to Jeff Nichols for coming on, and please enjoy this week's episode of the Waistline Podcast. I want to thank you for coming on. You reached out because you were on The Biggest Loser, like I think 7 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, 2012 and 2013.
Oh, so even longer than that, close to 8 years ago. Okay. So, and you were 25 at the time.
Yeah, 24, turned 25 while I was still living in the house.
Wow. So I was obviously aware of the show, but I think maybe because I was big, it wasn't my favorite show. I didn't really watch much of it. And I do have some questions later on, but I come from the oh, that's weird. Hold on. Hello. Are you hearing a clicking noise?
No, I don't hear anything extra.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'll start over. I come from, before I started podcasting, I came from the editing of reality TV shows, so I have some questions about that. But it sort of scared me a little bit, just like to see, like I just didn't want to be. I don't know. I guess I was in denial of being big. I don't want to see that and imagine myself going through it. It looked awful, and I know that there are people with negative views of the show for a few reasons, and we can even talk about that. But to start with you, were you big your whole life? Or did it happen later on, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so I was like really small as a kid up until I was like 7 or 8, and I had like a lot of health problems, like a lot of asthma, a lot of allergies, and I was always like in and out of the hospital. And so to help, I guess, like help me grow out of it or help get me better, a lot of the medications that I was taking like had steroids in them, right? So
oh yeah, yep.
So that helped beef me up. So by the time I was like 10 or 11, I was like a hefty boy, and I was always on the bigger side of things. And as life went on, things get worse. And I think in a previous episode, at some point you had talked about like things didn't really spiral or get crazy until like you had a car and your own means
Oh
of
yeah.
acquiring things, right? So that's where it takes off. And then you go to college and it gets worse. And then just sedentary lifestyle becomes sedentary lifestyle because I was active in elementary, middle school, high school, even played sports, things like that. But I was just always the bigger guy. But then once you get out of having daily activity and routine like that, it starts to get crazy.
It does. Do you ever look back at pictures of when you were like a young kid and you're like, when I was 12, I looked at myself then the way I look at myself at my biggest. I thought I was huge.
Dude,
I
so much.
oh, and looking back, you're like, oh God, I wish I was that weight. I was skinny as fuck back then.
I mean, even more so, I don't even do that like with 12-year-old me. I do that with like 28-year-old me, 29-year-old me. I'm 33 right now. So I do that like the mental image you have of yourself after coming off of a show like that, where like everyone watched you lose every pound you lost.
Right.
And people hold you to some different standard. Like, the whole body dysmorphia thing, it's real. And it's like, it's real even when you look good and you're telling yourself, oh, I look overweight. I need to do this. I need to do that. But like 28-year-old me, I remember at one point I was like, oh, I've gained so much weight, and I'd gained like 30 pounds or something like that. And I was like, oh, now I look back and I'm like, I wish I was that guy.
I know.
I wish I was that problem.
And we'll get to all that. It's
Sure. Yeah.
Oh no, you're fine. The body dysmorphia thing is an interesting topic because I've been doing a lot of talks with listeners, and it's really reinforcing to me that the mental aspect of weight gain and weight loss is really almost all of it. And we talked about losing and gaining weight 100 times, and even every time I've done it, I just sort of get complacent, I guess, and you start slipping a little bit. Okay, maybe I can go to fast food now. Or my biggest example is I used to have. This is why I don't really do cheat days anymore. Is I used to have a cheat day. First, it was a cheat meal, and then it was a cheat day, and then my cheat day was Saturday, and I figured out in my head, like, because I always stay up late, I figured out that if I stayed up past midnight, it's Saturday. I'm not cheating. It is Saturday. But then it also continued until after midnight on Sunday because it's still Saturday. I'm up. So it went from a meal to probably close to like 30 hours, and it's just a slippery slope because gaining weight is so much easier than losing weight, but it's still a slower process. You gain a couple pounds here, a couple pounds there, a shirt's a little tighter, who cares? But then you look back and suddenly it's 50, 60, 100 pounds very quickly. And so you said you started getting bigger, and then when at your heaviest, what were you at?
My heaviest, I think, was when I went on the show, which I like 390, I think it was. So
Wow.
Somewhere hovering between the range of like 394 bills. I'm sure, there was a little fluctuation in there.
Okay. And what is the, I mean, I don't know if it's really an audition, but maybe it is. What is the process for getting on the show? Do they put it out there? We're looking for big people, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so when the show was like, in its prime and it was running regularly, they would do casting calls like they do for, like Bachelor, Bachelorette. They'll put the kind of the baseline of what you need out there. So I think for Biggest Loser, it was always like they would tell you kind of what season they're casting, whether it's like partners, families, and couples, whatever it is. But it was like, in my case, it was looking for individuals who have anywhere from 50 to 100 plus pounds to lose. is like what it is. But you know it's them that's casting because it's on like their Twitter, like the casting team's Twitter and things like that. So you know what show they're casting for.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I've had a bunch of people, even before I was on a podcast, tell me I need to lose weight, offer to help me, my parents, and sometimes I tried, and sometimes I was like, fuck you, I'm an adult, I'm going to eat what I want to eat. What about the show? Like, why did you decide to audition? Why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah, so interesting kind of like background to that. So I similarly had people who were like, you need to get it in line, you need to get this under control, like we're here to help. Always had like resources from a family perspective, always had a supportive family. My sister had mentioned like several times, she's slightly overweight, not in the grand scheme of things, but I think she's slightly overweight. She would consider herself slightly overweight. And I think one of the things she would constantly mention is like, we should do our own version of The Biggest Loser, or like, hey, we should try out for Biggest Loser. And I was always like, no, I'm not a guy who needs to be the center of attention. I don't like that type of stuff unless it's like for work, I'm okay. And then so I was working in a similar type of industry back in 2010, 2011, and I was working from home a lot. And like to pass the time, I would just like let something play in the background, was watching something on Hulu. And the next thing that just auto played was an episode of The Biggest Loser. And it was like episode 1 of that current season. So it just played. I kind of watched it. It was the very first time I'd ever watched it. And this one guy I identified with, he was from like my same state, like from like 30 minutes from where I went to college, reminded me somewhat about myself, similar age. And then he went on to win the entire thing, and like the live finale was like a couple days after I saw this first episode. And like, so I binge watched it and I was like, this guy won. I see a lot of myself in him. If he can do this, there's no reason that I can't do this. And it seems like the vehicle to maybe make that change or make that happen for me, because I felt like I was always the type I was going to need to take myself out of my environment and almost like have to be some type of like boot camp mentality to start. At least I was going to need something to start that piece of discipline and that piece of mindset for me, because I obviously was struggling to do it myself.
Interesting. And wow, because I just see the amount of working out that you guys did on the show, and I hate working out, man. I mean, there's a reason why I got to be 336 pounds. And I'm 5'4". On a good day, I'm probably 5'3.5". But I say 5'4". I hate it. I've never enjoyed it. The only kind of thing I like is kettlebells, and honestly, what I liked was the class that I was doing. It wasn't the actual working out. When you auditioned, did any part of you be like, God, why did I do this? What did I get myself into?
No, because for me, like during the actual time of audition, what I did was, I told my sister, I'm like, hey, they're having casting calls. You've always talked about it. Let's go do it. So even though I knew they were casting individuals and they weren't casting like partners or families or anything, it was kind of like I asked her to do it so that way I wouldn't like feel alone in the process, but I kind of kept it to myself. I didn't like involve like friends or anyone else. I didn't tell anyone I was doing this because at that point, it's like almost kind of embarrassing, to be like, I'm going to do this thing because I'm recognizing that like I need to do something. So for some reason, I felt that was like an embarrassing thing. So I didn't tell anyone, I didn't involve anyone. And I kind of used it as like a challenge in a sense of like, how well I've always done sales. Sales has always been my thing. So I'm like, how well can I sell myself to these people? Can I do this? Can I achieve this? So at no point did I look at it as like what am I doing or what have I gotten myself into? Maybe until like I was actually like there,
Okay. How many levels of auditions did you go through?
There's a like a wait in line type of odd like casting call, just a bunch of people in line. Then there is, if you get a call back, you come to like wherever you did the casting call to do like a video interview where they'll ask you a bunch of questions, kind of get your profile. And then from there, they ask you to do a home like audition tape still. And so some people who don't go to the casting calls only do the home tape. So then I had to do a home tape, which at that point I had kind of had to like involve like friends and family and was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But it's only my closest friends and family. And then from there, they fly you out to LA for potentially an undetermined amount of time, but they told us this time it was 2 weeks, and it's a really brutal process. They bring you out, you're locked in your hotel room. Like you don't even get a key to your own hotel room. They have to come get you to do anything and everything. You're not allowed to speak to anyone that you're with other than like the production assistants. You're not allowed to speak to anyone but them. If you need anything, no building relationships with any potential contestants, no, hey, hi, how you doing? Where are you from? Nothing. It's like a battery of psychological evaluations, medical evaluations. They kind of put you in the hot seat with like executive producers to see how you'll react to people kind of, poking and prodding you and being kind of mean and rude to you. And then after all that's done, they send you home and they're like, maybe you'll get a call, maybe you won't. And then they call you and then they're like, hey, we're going to send a camera crew to your hometown to do some stuff. And at this point, you start to think like, okay, they're investing a lot of money and time, so I probably made it, but they still haven't told you if you made it or not. So they send a camera crew, basically parade you around your hometown to like maybe some of your favorite places. So super uncomfortable to like go to places in my super small hometown that I'm from. Like everyone knows everyone. So I'm like at the local like bar and grill eating with like TV cameras and people are like, what is he doing?
Which must be hard as a big guy anyways. Usually you don't want anyone looking at you. You're like, get out of here, man. Like they have lights. Like, can you eat that bite again? Like, leave me alone.
Yes, exactly. The can you eat that bite again thing. Oh my God. So awkward, so uncomfortable. And then, they involve some of your friends and like, get footage, you and your friends interacting, whatever. And then at that point, they send you an email and they're like, we need you to come back to LA and we need you to pack for potentially being gone for, 3 months. But you might not need to do that, but still get all your affairs and take care of everything as if you might need to do that. And this is routine and like traditional. They will do that. And there will be people who will set that up for themselves and not make the show. So like I had to like tell my boss at my job at the time, like, hey, I might need to quit. I might not. And he was super cool. I told him everything. And he's like, once in a lifetime opportunity, run with it, see what happens for you. And we'll figure it out, so great.
Oh,
great.
Well, that's cool. I was going to ask, cause I mean, were you living with your parents still? Were you in an apartment or how, like, I can't imagine just leaving my apartment for 3 months.
Yeah. So I had just moved back from Chicago, like 2 months before I got into this process. So I was staying with my mom. And especially once I got involved in this process, I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want to get anything. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Like I even had like, car pay, like people were making my car payments, my cell phone payments. People were taking care of that while I was gone, but I wanted as little, obligation to other things until I knew what was going to happen with this. And, like I said, my boss was cool. He was like, once in a lifetime opportunity, we'll figure it out. So I went back, packed all my things to literally be gone for like 6 months or 3 months, said my goodbyes, said everything. And I ended up making the show, and like, that's it. You don't go back home until you're eliminated.
Wow. And were they paying you at all during the thing? Okay. So you actually do get paid. Okay.
You get paid. It's very little. It was like 50-50 in the group that I was with between people who were making as much or more than they might've been making in their private life. They pay you $100 a day. I think it is for every day that you're there. You get paid weekly. You just get a check. But for me, I was losing money. I was making more at my job than I was making there.
Right.
But it was still like enough money and you had no expenses other than whatever you had going on in your real life. However, there's people with like kids and stuff, so like,
Jesus.
I got to imagine that's tough for them. At the time, single guy, I had like a car payment and a cell phone bill, so.
Right. Wow. Okay. So you get there. The thing that when I was doing some research and I was looking at it and I saw that they make you put how much you weigh on your shirt. I I didn't like that. I the only time I'm ever honest about how much I weigh is when I'm losing weight. And
Mhm.
even then, before I started putting it online, I would always, fudge it a little bit, make round it down a little bit.
Sure.
Um, but uh, that and then the whole weighing in process on live TV, which by the way, I think it is kind of bullshit that they make you wear clothes for the weigh
Mhm.
in because that's
Mhm.
not. I mean, those are like 8-pound shirts. I think.
No,
Uh,
you don't. You don't wear clothes. You don't
well,
wear
you
clothes.
you wear the tank tops, or do you weigh in before and they just put you on that fake? Oh, okay, okay, that
Yeah.
makes
So
me.
there's like a whole process to it. Like you weigh it, like, and as you, so there's a strategy to that, like the whole weighing in process.
Yeah,
So your first weigh in, you want it to be as heavy as you possibly
yeah,
could.
you're chugging water, you're eating donuts on the scale. You're like, hey, let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yep. And then after that, every subsequent weigh in, you want to be weighed in as light as possible. So you weigh in the morning, that morning, there's like a whole medical routine you have to go through before you weigh in to make sure you're not dehydrated, all that kind of stuff. And so then as I got more aggressive, people would usually just weigh in like their underwear but as I got more aggressive, like into the end, and you were talking ounces, like people were weighing in naked,
Yeah.
just cupping it.
So that's so I let me I guess go back for a second. Then I do have a question about the medical part. What was it like putting something that even though you're because when you're big, everyone can see it. When you have other medical issues, like if your liver is fucked up because you drink a lot, no one can see that, but people can see when you're big.
Mhm.
And but it's something that at least for me, I was very self conscious about and would try to hide. What is it like putting that part of you out there?
That's a fantastic question. I think that if I had to like boil down like maybe like a top five most like vulnerable or like embarrassing experiences, it would be like, taking your shirt off for the very first time. Like if we weighed in for the first time in front of a live audience.
Oh
So we did it
God.
like in this like it was wild, man. In front of this like whole auditorium, like they called you. You didn't officially know you made it, but you kind of knew, and they literally announced your name and whatever seat you were sitting in the auditorium, you came down. So it was like the first time you were officially finding that out, and like stepping on stage in front of all strangers. Your family's not there. You don't got a friend in sight. No one. You don't know the contestants. You know no one, and you got to like pull off your shirt, and like the scale is fake, so they're taking the weight from wherever you weighed in before. But it's like I wasn't a guy who like ran around with my shirt off. Like I wasn't
No.
like the guy at the party who like was just like, I'm gonna do a cannonball and like take off my shirt and jump in. Like I was like, how can I wear a tight layer underneath to make myself look even just a little smaller? Like
Oh yeah, I don't think my chest or stomach has seen the sun since before Obama was president. I honestly don't think I feel like it would get a sunburn immediately. I don't take my shirt off. What are you talking about?
exactly, yeah. So that I was not that guy, man. And of course it got easier because it became so routine of them needing to do things. But like early on, there was so much hesitation. Like, and they're like, well, come on, let's get on with it. Everyone's gonna have to do it. And so it's like nothing to them. It's routine as normal for the production crew and everything like that. But I'm just like, damn, it's like it's almost like I don't even know how to put it into words, but they're just almost like marching the cattle in there for like show, almost like here's your prized cattle, like take a look at them. It's a weird feeling for sure.
Oh my god. So um I do want to ask, so we're skipping ahead a little bit, but I do want to ask about before I forget it because right like today is actually the day that I weigh in every week. And I know roughly where I am and I don't dehydrate myself. Like I don't go for like days without water, but it's about 3:30 in the afternoon here, and I'm gonna weigh in. I'm gonna go take a walk after this, and then I'm gonna weigh in. And I'm kind of thirsty, but there's no way I'm not drinking at all, because that's gonna add weight to my weigh-in. So when you say that they made sure you were not dehydrated, how would you guys like the night before maybe not eat and make sure you go to the bathroom and like would you not drink or did they force you to drink some water?
So you want like the essentially like the pre-weigh-in ritual?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So the night before, I may be getting ahead of myself but I think it warrants it for the explanation. So there's the workouts you see on TV and the trainers you see on TV, and then there's other trainers, and then there's the workouts that really happen, I like to say.
Okay.
So your night before a weigh-in, you're with one of the sub trainers who come in, and they're working out either in groups or individual, however it's structured, and it's like 2-3 hours. They're like, you know what you're here to do, so get it done. And like it'll be like sometimes they would adjust, like say 2020 was oh shoot, sorry, I just did something. There we go. Like 2020 would be the method, and so they're just like 20 minutes on a new machine. Every 20 minutes you're going to rotate, but you got to go as hard as you can.
Oh,
so there were different people who took different strategies. I studied the show in a sense, so I feel like I binge watched a bunch of seasons to understand what I thought I needed to do. So pre in the night before, I'm layering every possible layer that I can. I got 2-3 hoodies on. I'm sweating out, right? I want to dehydrate myself almost as much as I possibly can. And then what I would do is, in the event that you were dehydrated, in the training room, they had electrolytes, they had, Gatorades, they had Pedialyte. So I found myself like a perfect concoction of Pedialyte and water. And that whole day before the weigh-in, I would eat breakfast and maybe like a salad at lunch. And I would not eat again until we weighed in. And mind you, we're burning like, 7,000-8,000 calories in a day. So I maybe
good Lord.
Yeah. So I maybe consumed like 400 in the morning before we did anything. And then I've done 3-4 workouts and sweated out every ounce of liquid I had in my body. And then that night, throughout the evening and like throughout the middle of the night, I would make this like 8 to 12 ounce concoction of like Pedialyte or some electrolyte drink mix and water. And I would like sip it or chug it, however it worked out. And I never came in dehydrated, thankfully. Because if you're dehydrated at the gravity test, you pee, they check your urine for a specific gravity, which will tell you if you're hydrated or dehydrated. And if you're dehydrated and your urine doesn't meet the gravity, you got to drink them right then till you can pee with hydrated pee. And then you got to step on the scale with a belly full of however many ounces of Gatorade or Pedialyte it took.
Oh no. Oh, that's my nightmare. Okay. So I would love to know what it was like. Like, did you get yourself ready before you went to the show to like start eating better and working out at all, or were you going in there from zero, eating whatever you wanted, to a very strict diet and workout plan?
Yeah, I didn't change anything until I got to the show. I kind of went with the mentality of like which is such a fucked up mentality now that I think about it, but it's like, I'm not going to do anything to better myself right now because like, I don't want to start losing the early, easy, 15 pounds of water weight before I go there. Cause then I'll just get eliminated soon if I make it.
Right. Okay. So what were you eating like before the show? Like what would a normal, even not a cheat day, but a normal day of eating be like for you?
I ate like an asshole, man. Fast food was a regular staple for me, or like, even if I just ate like a fast food meal or ate a meal at home, my mom's a fantastic cook. So even if I ate food at home and then one of my buddies was like, hey, we're going to go get wings, or hey, we're going to go get a burger, or hey, we're going to go get this, I would go with them and still eat like I hadn't eaten, or even if I went with them to do all those things. And I hadn't eaten at home. And my mom was like, oh, hey, I made X, Y, and Z. I'm going to come home and I'm going to still eat that. So it's like, eating the 2 dinners, eating 2 lunches, snacking well into the night, just eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And, I was always like a big water drinker. I drank water, but I also drank, full flavor, like full calorie sodas and, things like that. So I was never in a lot of juices, full of sugar and whatever. So never been big on sweets, but like I would crush a bag of like Doritos, no problem,
Okay. So you weren't, dessert was never your thing, huh?
No, like if my mom would make like homemade chocolate chip cookies, that would be like the only thing. And I'd still only, dabble with those. But like you could get a whole cake of whatever and set it in front of me, and I might try it to see what it tastes like. But I'm not.
Oh man, I wish I love when people say they're a sweet or a savory person. I'm a both person. I love all of it. There's nothing I like more than warm chocolate chip cookies or Tres Leches cake. Or good lord. Okay, and working out, was there any of that?
Not really. I
was you're thinking about, you're like, well, I did walk to the car. So.
I golfed, and I wouldn't mind going and walking, playing golf. Like I was still like fully capable of like moving around and stuff like that. It was like I was like bedridden. So like and my friends were all like active, like half of them were like Division I athletes, so it's like I would shoot around with them or like shoot some sport, play some kind of sport with them a little bit, but like I was never competitive with them,
Right. That's one of the reasons. I have no hand-eye coordination anyways, but the golf thing, the walking is part of the reason why I haven't done it, because I know my friends. I have the kind of asshole friends, especially in LA, that are like, hey, let's just walk instead of the cart.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. How about we take the cart and not play golf? How about we take the cart to the store and get some chips? I don't want to do any of that. So can you take us through what the eating, and you kind of already started with the workout, but one of the things that I like for right now, I'm doing intermittent fasting and I'm just counting calories, and I'm doing that because I still get to eat. I'm not having fast food and I'm not having burgers. But like I can have a turkey. I can have whatever I want. I have to watch the calories. But I still, like on Tuesday nights, I tend to give myself a few hundred more calories to give myself to make it seem like it's not so bad. And last week, which I think is part of the reason why I didn't have a huge week losing weight, I lost like I think 3 pounds this week.
That's awesome though.
Well, thank you, but it should be more. But I had, for the first time in 4 months, I cut a small pizza in half and had it over 2 nights last week. Nice. So I stayed close to my calories, but something I'm going to do this week is I'm going to try to be good almost every night. But did you have any sort of cheating at all on the show? Or
yes, you could do whatever you wanted.
Okay.
That was very like out there, like. It almost, because you got to think content wise, it would give them better content if they were able to catch someone, fucking off and eating whatever they wanted. Right. So we had people who did our shopping for us, no chefs or anything. You fully stocked kitchen. And when I say fully stocked, like there were like a shit ton of like bars that were, like not necessarily good for you that you could just like go crazy on, like Kind bars and shit like that. And then there was, a lot of like all natural, but like, like tortilla chips, and there was all kinds of stuff in there, and maybe just the lesser evil of like the traditional style that you might go for in the grocery store. And then we had to make everything ourselves. We could put on within reason, whatever we wanted on these shopping lists, and they would get. And so you could really cause whatever type of destruction you wanted to that process. But like, that's where you had to get really dialed in, because there were conversations that would happen around like, which is like still, I think the craziest thing that was ever asked of me on the show was, do you want to win or do you want to be healthy? And I was like, hold on. aren't they supposed to be the same thing? And then that's when I learned that there was a couple people who would fit a weight and like basically structural build for them that they felt could potentially win. And so at that point, that's when your trainer would be like, if you want to win, you got to eat no more than 800 calories a day. If you want to be healthy, if you want to be healthy, follow what the nutritionist gave you. So I took that, and that's how I developed how I ate. I was like, well, I'm not here to fucking pussyfoot around. I'm here to win,
Right.
at that point.
Did they put that on camera, or is that off camera where they're saying?
Off camera, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Off camera, one-on-one with like the couple people that they think might win.
Wow.
And so from there, I that's how I tailored what I ate. So every day was pretty similar, except for weigh-in day. Weigh-in day was always different. So you'd weigh in first thing in the morning, and that was kind of your cheat day because you knew it was the absolute longest period of time until you were going to have to step on the scale again. And what you were going to eat in the grand scheme of things wasn't going to be something that was going to truly impact you. So we would go off campus as the show went on and there was less people. We'd go off campus, and like one of the big treats of what we could do is like we went to a gym to do something, and then there would always be a Trader Joe's nearby. So like people would go in and maybe like get something that they were going to eat for their cheat day. And so I would almost always get these like frozen burritos.
Yep. And
then cheat morning, everyone in the house would just like throw down. Like there'd be like a smorgasbord of shit. And it would be like, steak and eggs, and someone's making like nachos, and someone's making this, someone's making that. And it was all, we had learned like substitutes. So it was healthier versions of these things. Right. However, like we all ate more than we like traditionally ever would consider on any other day.
And were you, because I've watched some reality shows, and obviously it's a competition show, were you able to actually A, trust anybody, and B, become friendly with anybody? Or was it all like you're nice to them, but they're in the way of you winning, and so you kind of hate them?
So that's a great question too. And again, I studied the show. I had never seen an episode until that season where I was sitting there watching. And then when I started going through the process and thought this might be a possibility, I binge watched like 9 seasons. So all I did, I studied it. And so I saw the type of like social game you also had to have to be successful and go far, so people wouldn't see you as the wrong type of threat. So I felt like I tried to play that role. I don't think that I ever had a period of time where I didn't feel I could trust someone, because there was no one else that was really in the way of my success that could do anything to falter my success, because I'd already set up a system, like a voting system with a couple people that I knew weren't going to back out on that. And it was just because it was better for them. That's why I knew they weren't going to back out on it, because it would also have been better for them rather than the alternative that would have been available. And so I think a lot of us became friendly with one another, because it's like we're all almost like experiencing like a trauma together. So like we're almost like the prisoners, and like we're trying to like bond because our captors are like just like, destroying us essentially. Right.
So can you take us through how the vote off process works? I didn't realize there was voting. I thought it was all whoever lost the most weight was gone.
No, so they do a couple different methods. Traditionally, the method is like the show shifts and changes. So at first in my season, it's different every season, but at first in my season, there were 3 trainers. Yeah, 3 trainers. So there was 3 trainers and 3 teams. Each trainer had a team. The team with the lowest percentage of weight loss would have to vote to eliminate one of their team members. Just that team.
Oh, okay.
But then there was also a couple like random, like throw a wrench in the plans weeks where it was like the person with the lowest percentage of weight loss gets eliminated, or whoever falls below this yellow or red line gets eliminated, or the 2 people out of all groups who fall between the yellow line are the two people that you're going to select from to vote off, but usually it's like the top person can't be voted off. It's almost like their little mini immunity. So there's a lot of different ways in which the voting process can happen.
And I thought about that because on my Patreon, I had some people who were thinking, like, we should do a weight loss challenge. And the reason why I didn't do it is, A, I didn't want anyone to, like, put themselves through, like, an intense thing and hurt themselves. And then, B, also, I didn't know how to really fairly gauge it, because someone who only needs to lose 20 pounds is going to lose less weight than me, who has to lose 150 whatever pounds. So they did it based off of percentages, off of, like, if you lost 6 and I lost 4, but that's a higher percentage of my weight, then I win.
Yeah, then you would have a higher percentage of weight loss. It's so when, like, for instance, I lost to at the bitter end to a girl who lost like significantly less overall weight than me, like, because she had less weight to lose. So it was based on the percentage of her body weight versus mine. And
no, and we're gonna get to that, because you told me about that, and I was looking, I couldn't find it on YouTube, but I'll find it. I'll see if I can find it, and it sounds awful, but yeah. I want so you were mentioning, like, the whole production side of it. And I came from, I worked on America's Funniest Home Videos. And that one is actually almost, they actually told me once, the executive producer was like, because I asked her, I said, cause I don't know if you've seen that show, but the audience votes on who wins, like, a 10 grand, and then they have a big finale where they win 100 grand. And they said that they actually had rules that the voting was real because money was involved. So, like, they obviously picked the ones that they thought were the funniest, and they would put those to a test. But that show was pretty real. But I worked on a show that I won't mention because I probably signed an NDA, that they had, like, legit directors for, and I was an assistant editor, so I was getting the footage together, and I would hear the director say, let's do that scene again, and this time say that, like, do this, this, and this. How much of the show was real, and how much of did you look at it and be like, well, that didn't happen, or I didn't say that?
Yeah, so a lot changes in the editing room for a show like this, because they have to have certain dramas, they have to have certain things. So if they can tie something to maybe something you said in a different episode, but you still look similar enough, they're gonna take that. They're gonna use what you said in episode 4 and take that clip. But even if they didn't show it in episode 4, they're going to take that clip and make it in episode 6 and just make it seem like you said it then, because it applies to the scenario that's happening.
Yeah, so there's something called frankenbiting when it comes to reality TV editing, and they would literally send me on missions and say, find so and so saying the word just, and then you would go and you would just literally go through and find, because they have they transcribe all the interviews, right. But then they also, in other parts of the shows, will you'll just have to listen, and you'll be like, okay, he said it there, like, here's 7 options of him saying this, and they'll literally edit together a sentence. You, like, if my rule of thumb, and I've ruined some girlfriends' love of reality TV shows, I always tell them, if you don't see them saying it, they didn't say, they're stringing some stuff together, and they know what they're doing. So it's, wow. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, it's a TV show and it's an entertainment. They're trying to make it interesting, but do you feel like they did you wrong, or did anybody wrong, or was it mostly just to make it a little bit more exciting?
Yeah, so it's hard for me to say if they did anyone else wrong, because it's like, I don't know all the times in which they may have actually said something, but, like, when they're cutting montages of, the workouts, because the workouts are real, obviously, like, you can't really fake you doing that work. However, the workouts that are filmed with the trainers, they're the easiest workouts we do ever. Those are all the easiest ones. We do the real work behind the scenes. And I think that there was several instances of, because there, for every week, there's a story producer for every episode. So they have a story and they have an agenda that they have that they want to accomplish. And so several times there was sit downs or having to reshoot this entry or reshoot the way you said this thing, or can you say that again, but say it like this. And I remember one time, so my now wife, I met on the show.
Wow. Was she a contestant?
Yeah, she was a contestant that, like, you know, we weren't partners, we weren't anything, but like bonded early and were married. So with her, there was an obvious like thing a brewing, and there was another season where something similar happened and they made a whole story about it. And it was this whole big thing. And my thing was like, I came there to do what I needed to do for me, and like whatever happens, right? Like in terms of whatever they catch or whatever they show. And they sat us both down. They're like, oh, America would love this love story. America would love this. America would love that. And I was like, I didn't come here for America. I'm here for me. Right. And I don't want to like sacrifice, like, even if this is a good thing and this is working out, like, you guys can film what you can film, but I'm not going to like fake something with her for TV and for you guys.
Right. And I would imagine you also, you don't want to make out or hook up on camera and then like your parents watch you even though she turned into your wife. I mean, that's not something you want out there.
Yeah. And I don't think in that case it would have been that type of like connection, but they would have done some corny, cheesy, like montage of romantic things with her and I, or staged us doing things that like, right, you know, interacting with each other in a way in which we never would interact, you know, to more about the love than the lust factor. But there was one time that I think that editing style kind of bit me in the ass. And it was like, when I had said before, like I had a system of voting set up that I knew was going to protect me because it was going to be more beneficial for them. Well, that was when we were in teams, and then the show went to individuals. So there was two people that I could have potentially voted for. One being the lady who is now my wife. I could have voted to send her home, or I could have voted to send a guy that we had basically been like, hey, we're going to send these other people home before we send each other home. So in my eyes, all bets are off once it goes to individuals. Plus, like, he already knew about me and her and the thing that we had going on. So no matter what happened, no matter how I voted, he was going home. He had the votes to go home. But then they cut something from a previous week of me saying like, well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for this guy. And then they played it in that week when I clearly voted for that guy, and they made me be the deciding factor vote because they knew it would be more dramatic.
So he was already voted off, but then they just rearranged the order.
I could have said nothing and he would have went home.
Hysterical.
But they made me reveal my vote as the like nail in his coffin that sent him home.
God. Well, yeah, you can't. I was. It's funny, Rob, that I was gonna ask you. It was like, you didn't vote to send your wife home, did you? Because that's some fucked up shit. That would be tough. And she would never let you. Oh my God.
I did end up sending her home though.
You did. Not
intentional. It was out of my control, out of my hands, unintentional. Never would have done it. But it was a situation of whoever loses the least goes home. I was like second to last, and she was the last person to weigh in. So I was like, it's either her going home or me going home. So either way, it's gonna suck.
Right. And were you like feeding her chocolate strawberries though during that week? You're like, hey, try this, sweetie. You look great.
No, but to this day, she tells me, she asks me if she should have sweat out like I was explaining earlier. And I told her, I don't know, because I didn't want to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, you're not going to help her. It's a real world thing. Like, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to be real, man. You came here to lose weight. It wasn't even about helping.
It was about hurting. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to tell her to sweat out and then her have to be that person that chugs a bunch of Gatorade and goes home.
Yeah, so I can see the salesman, and you're like, no, I didn't want her to be dehydrated. I'm the good guy here. Wow, that's wild. Okay, so. How many weeks is the show?
It varies for everyone. For us, there were like 12 episode weeks, I believe, which is a little bit longer. The first like week or two, they're not quite exactly 7 days. They might be 8 days or 9 days, but they're not like super inflated weeks. And then there's like a break, depending on when you're filming, if there's a holiday and stuff like that. So I was there from the last week of September till the third week of January. But I went home
Wow.
at some point for like a holiday break / like makeover week thing that they do.
Okay. And at what point did you realize, like, wow, I might actually have a chance of winning this?
It was there was after she went home, like it really kind of like broke me because I was like, I got no one else here that's like a confidant, you know? So there was a challenge that night after she got eliminated, and it was like the person who like comes in last or whatever gets kicked off the ranch for a week. And the whole thing was about like facing your fears that week. So the guy who he put it on himself to lose, and he was like, I'll take it. I'll get kicked off. And like, I just wasn't in like a good headspace about it all. And I liked him. He was her roommate. Like, we're still cool. And he was like, they put it on him. They're like, okay, since you lost, guess what you have to do now? You have to pick someone else to bear your punishment with you. And I just volunteered. I was like, I'll go with him. And so me and him went off the ranch for a week and like did it not ourselves. We still had like a production assistant. We still had certain rules we had to adhere to, but like in terms of the working out and the eating, we had to do it all ourselves, like away from all the resources. So I came back and I lost like 13 pounds that week. And at that point, and that was like what propelled you into like makeover week and getting to like go home to see your family, stuff like that. At that point, I was like, okay, there's a shot.
Wow. And that's wild. So I'm trying to do the math. You were there for what, like 2 months, I guess?
October, November, December, and half of January. So like 3.5 months.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
About
They
3
said
months
December,
in
January.
total. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 months. And how much weight did you lose in total?
So while I was there, it's like in total is a different question. So when you go home in January, the show starts running. So we went home 1 week after the first episode aired. So then you have all the subsequent weeks of it airing. So once you're done training there and they've identified who the finalists are going to be, then you go home and train. And everyone's supposed to be training at home because there's no like eliminated player prize. And then, you know, the finalists are competing for the final prize. So I went home and trained even more relentlessly up until the middle of March. So another 2 months of training at home.
Okay.
All that talk, and you can do whatever you want.
So how much did you lose at the ranch?
At the ranch, I went from I went from like 390 to 265, maybe.
130 pounds in 3 months. So that's like 40, 45 pounds a month.
Something crazy like
that's
that, yeah.
wild. And how much? And so when you in that extra 2 months, what did you get down to?
So there's also, I would say, two answers for that. My total weight loss on record for the show is 181 pounds.
Okay.
But the last like 14 days of before I went back to do my final weigh-in, I was like on the verge of death. You know, I like wasn't eating at all, literally nothing, no food, no consumption of food. And I was just doing that like master cleanse, you know, like cayenne pepper, maple syrup, and lemonade or whatever, or like lemon and water.
Right.
And so I did that for like 2-3 times a day. And I was like violently like, it made me, I got actually like fucked up from it at the end because like, and then you do this massive sweat out, like a previous contestant will come, like if you ask them to, and like sweat you out, put you through the rigors like the night before. It's a process. And so in that time frame, I lost like 41 pounds or something like that in those last like 2 weeks just of malnourishing myself. But it like made my hair thin. It like, I got gallstones because of it. So I had to have a gallbladder removed. Like it was not good, but it was a means to an end. And I was trying to get 250 grand. So,
right. Okay. So when it's the day of the finale or the day that you're weighing in, you weigh in the morning again and do that whole dehydration thing?
Yeah. So it was like, I was kind of like up all night. And you know, had a buddy come who I've remained friends with, who like put me through his process, sweat me out. Like my mouth was like 100 cotton balls. Like I was so thirsty. But I knew I had to keep this fine line again between like being hydrated and not. A couple people got popped for not being hydrated. it sucked for them, but I made the cut. Yeah, they test you, they do all that stuff. And this time you're not weighing in like offsite. You actually have to go to the doctor's like office to weigh in. And our doctor is like, I don't know, one of these TV doctors. He's like, the Charlie Sheen, I think it's like his doctor and all these like famous people's doctors. So we go there and he's like a doctor to the stars. And he's like, oh yeah, you look great. You look great. You look great. But then he starts quizzing people about the process. And like, it was almost concerning because at the end when he's like quizzing you and he's like, okay, you're hydrated. He does the weigh in. It seems like he doesn't even believe in the process or thinks that it's good. It's like a weird feeling at the end.
Right. Well, okay. What do you think? I have other questions, but what do you think about it? Looking back, are you happy you did it? Do you think that it was unhealthy, or what are your feelings?
So, I am incredibly happy that I did it, but for different reasons. So, I still got a big check from them for coming in second. They don't like advertise that, but I got a big check, which was great. I met the lady who's now my wife. I got to do and experience a lot of things. I worked for them in a sense for like a year after, like traveling to different 5Ks, half marathons. Like I was on salary with them for a while. So I got to travel and do things that like most other people weren't. I then also got to work for myself and do these public speaking events and engagements and things like that and make a lot of money based on something I would have never otherwise been able to do. So in all of those regards, I am very happy that I did it. I think it is a horrible method for health and wellness, in not only like physical health and wellness, but also like mental health and wellness. For someone to go through something like that, to lose weight. I mean, it is literally like just a massive crash diet on steroids. And it's not good for you physically, because anytime you're losing weight that fast, you're not going to keep it off. And mentally, the ramifications of that are like, you're not going to keep it off, but like in the public eye, you're expected to like be this person. You're expected to have completely transformed everything about your life in 3 months.
Right. Absolutely. So I just want to back up for a second. Before we get to that, I know I'm jumping all over.
No, it's okay.
But you weigh in. How long do you have to wait until you find out if you won or lost?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I weighed in on the 17th and the finale was on like the 18th. So it was at least a whole day.
Oh God. I hated my least favorite part of school. I have an S last name and I hated when they were handing tests back. I just was so anxious, so nervous. And you kind of alluded to it, but you ended up coming in second place. Can you walk us through how that happened and why that happened?
Yeah. So like, from when we weighed into when we found out and whatnot, like I'm pretty sure it was about 24 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, but different feelings arose. I think at that point it was like a little bit of relief that it's done. I mean, I got to drink Gatorade and water, and I was so happy about that. I got to like try to have a meal, but like I hadn't eaten in like 2 weeks, so that was hard. But I was also kind of miserable still, like the effects of all that. Like my family was there, and I remember just being like drained and like disconnected from everyone and like dejected, because you got so much going on in your mind about what's going to happen, right? Like 250 grand at 25 could like really change and reshape how you live your next handful of years if you do it right.
Right.
And so, all the other contestants that are eliminated meet on set and like at the sound stage, and they're doing a bunch of stuff, but like the finalists, we haven't seen anyone or each other because they're like keeping us secret to see like what we look like. Right. So, but like we were all cool. So like we had FaceTimed each other. We kind of knew, and everyone's kind of lying to each other too about what they've been doing. And the craziest part is the girl who ends up beating me. We trained at the same, like we went to the same spin studio. We were in the same.
Oh no.
because I went to go stay with my sister in Chicago to train to keep myself out of my home element. And she lived in Chicago. So we were like, people that knew both of us were like, oh, I seen Danny last night. You want to know what she ate? Like weird questions like that.
Right.
You know? And so I had an idea of where she was at, and I kind of knew that she was lying, and she had to know that I was lying when we were like, oh, what was your final weight? Because we don't know what they recorded as our final weights, but like, you're not allowed to weigh yourself when you're on the show at the ranch, but you know, when you're at home or in a hotel room, all bets are off. So I weighed myself literally before I got in the car to go to the doctor's office, and I had an idea of what I weighed, and I had like 3 different scales, and they all fluctuated by like a pound. And I knew if I weighed, 205 to 206, I was going to win. But if I weighed any more than that, I knew I would lose. So we're up there. She weighs in, and you can kind of tell how the structure is of who they have weigh in first. And they had me weigh in before her, because generally the idea is you want to have your celebratory moment when you're like on the scale, on the podium. So like you can be the center of attention. So I had an idea, and I'm just sitting there like, fuck, like, did I really lose? And I'm waiting to see the number, because in my head, I know it's by probably less than 1 pound. And her number pops up, and I'm like, what should have been like still a great feeling of like all this accomplishment and everything like that was one of like my top 5 like worst moments ever.
And did any of you think of like, man, why did I get on? I should have just kept eating burgers. I was happy. Why did I put myself through all this the past 5 months? Or were you, or did when after you like that low moment happened, were you still happy that you got healthier and lost the weight?
Yeah, so there was never a point where I was like, why did I subject myself to this if I didn't win that? And also at the time, it was also brutal for me because I didn't know there was a second place prize. They never talk about it. So like, I never once was like, why did I do this? Because I still thought the opportunities that I would yield from it would be greater. And even at the beginning of this, you were like, you made a mention of like, seeing people that were smaller and things you can do when you're smaller. And like, you didn't want that because like, or you thought the perception was you didn't want that, but maybe you thought you didn't want it because you are bigger. Well, I got to experience things that I thought I didn't like doing when I was overweight, and I don't like those things still.
You're like, fuck, I don't like that shit anyways. I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
So it was like an eye-opening thing, like, because I thought the same, I'm like, am I pushing this off or being resistant or negative about this because I feel I can't do it or I wouldn't thrive in it because of my weight? Well, I got skinny and I got to like go to clubs. I still hated them. I got to go to, do shit like that. And it wasn't for me. So there were also moments like that were like really helpful in like clearing my mind of like things that I had wondered about before, been concerned about before. So I think that was great. But I never thought like I shouldn't have done this. I have thought to this day and still think that I don't know that I really lost. Because I've asked, I'm like, can I see, they film the weight and I'm like, can I see my weight? I've asked 1,000 times and they've been like, no, we can't show you that.
Oh man. Do you think that you lost enough, but they wanted her to win or something?
I'm not, I don't want to be a sore loser, and I'm not, this is years ago.
No, we're a conspiracy theory. We're going to bring Sam Tripoli in here. Tell me, let's do it. Okay.
So the season that I was on, Jillian Michaels, like, helped build the show, right? She was like the trainer on the show. Her and Bob Harper were like the two that started it all for a decade, right? And she left for a couple years, but this was her triumphant return as a trainer. And the girl who won, she was a collegiate athlete, and we were like 3 years removed from college. It was like there's definitely girls that you have seen on the street that were her size that you were like, damn, she's cute. Like she wasn't like morbidly, massively obese, and she wasn't overweight for more than a handful of years. Like maybe a fit girl, but like wasn't like overweight for more than a few.
She didn't really earn being fat.
That's what I'm saying.
She's imposter fat.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so what, it was going to come off quicker, right? She still had that good muscle memory. She was like a collegiate water polo player. Like, Yeah.
This
So
is baloney. I am already on your side. I don't like this. We're gonna protest.
so she was on Jillian's team, and like Jillian's team kept losing week after week after week. And like she was like the lone survivor on Jillian's team. And like she kicked everyone's ass in like endurance challenges. Like we had to run a mile. It took me like 49 minutes. It took her like 32. Like she just roasted everyone in all these physical challenges because like she was a relatively recent athlete. And it was, in my eyes, they had a couple male winners back to back. They, in my eyes, because everyone fits a model on one of these shows, which I'm sure you've seen with like your editing, like they need this person, they need that person. And I think she was the female who was coached by the lady making her triumphant return. She had defied odds of like sticking around all season when her team was losing. It was a hero story. I mean, and she played it very well and played it up for the camera. Like, embraced the character they were wanting her to be. And I know like if she hears this, I'll sound like a hater, but like I'm not hating, and like I still talk to her. Like there's no bad blood between her and I. But like that's what I felt. And I was the antagonist.
Right.
Like I was the guy who fought with Jillian verbally, like, and they put in an episode where I'm like talking shit to her and we're arguing.
Right.
And I'm the guy who voted off his friend. I'm that guy.
Oh, you're the bad guy. Oh wow. Let me ask you this. You say you guys are still friends since she won the money. If you guys have lunch, she's buying lunch though, right?
I think she's bought dinner a time or two.
All right, good. Yeah. You deserve that at least. Like, hey, you're taking me out to dinner, and I'm not even leaving the tip.
Yeah. Wow. We were supposed to go on a big vacation, but I'm still waiting to see them palm trees.
Hey, come on, man. I was watching a video on YouTube today, and it was like a trainer gained 40 pounds just so he could lose it again. Mm-hmm. Like, do you ever think like maybe she was a ringer? She's like, maybe I'll gain like 50, 60 pounds, go on Biggest Loser, and then you who have trained for this your entire life really earned it. Wow, that is. Are you over it now? Are you happy now, or do you still wake up and be like, God, one more pound? Or
no, man, I trust me, I think about it. Like, how can you not, right? Like it could have been a potential pivotal moment and could have made, even though I did well off of everything else, imagine if I would have won, I would have done even better with the other side hustles, right? So it's like there were various things in life where I'm like, well, fuck, if I had that 250 grand, this sure would have been easier.
Right. Yeah. Every time you pay your credit card bills, you're like, I wish I had that extra money.
Right.
And not to shit on him, but it seems like you're the Ralphie May and she's the Dat fan of Last Comic Standing. Like everyone knew Ralphie won, but they needed Dat fan to win. So she's the Dat fan. Wow. That is
like, and she did something afterwards that I, watching her like trajectory, like there was a like gym sponsor and like she worked for them and traveled around for them. And like, I just couldn't imagine being in that persona for as long as she did it. I would have never wanted to. As soon as it stopped being financially lucrative for me, I almost like disassociated myself with it. I'm not going to be that guy if it's not paying me to be that guy,
Right. Oh yeah. And I'm not a believer necessarily in fate or anything like that, but I do believe that things usually tend to work out. So it's good to hear that at least you're maybe not over the money, but like you're happy. Are you happy now in general? Just in like even without that, are you happy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy. I think obviously, the biggest prize, would be like meeting my wife and like the life that we've experienced and built. And that also helped having someone who went through it too, right? Like someone that understands your struggles, having that person as like your life partner is a big deal, and like coming off the show, it's not like I kept all the weight off, obviously I didn't. And like, I've gained a chunk of the weight back, and everyone does though. That's the thing. Everyone who comes off this show does, with the exception of maybe 2 to 3 people out of 250 have more or less gained 50 to 100+% of their weight back. And I'm in that like probably 75 percentile of what I've gained back. And it's like, that's hard, but like having someone who's like still trying to encourage you, still trying to inspire you, like someone that you can look to work out with, and they can look to you to try to work out with. So like having that support system in the home, I think is probably better than the extra money that I would have won with the 250,000 and not had that, you know?
Right. Where are you mentally? Because before I started this, there were years I would have loved to have lost weight, but I just wasn't in the space to do it. I didn't want to. Are you trying to lose a little bit more weight? Are you maintaining right now? Where are you with that?
Yeah. So I think that there was a period of time where I think as I was gaining, like it just like seemed, it almost like I went back in my head to the ranch, right? And like doing these workouts, and like trying to do these things. And like, it was like, I met exercise, like it was a torture for me, you know, like it was, I know you said like, you're not a big fan of working out at all. And like, yes. I feel like the way I was introduced to it, it was like shoved down my throat so hard. And it was like such a chore and such a task that it had to be about finding things that like I enjoyed and maybe weren't even classified or associated as like these workouts. Right. So like I for the last like 6 months or so, I've been a lot more focused and conscious of like my food choices and like trying to get back on a better path. Like my wife's been really motivating in that regard. Like she's kind of took on like the start of 2021, like, you know, trying to undo the damage that we did in like 2020 and like years prior. And like, she's been really focused on that and really, you know, positive about that stuff. So I've tried to like fall in line with that and mirror that and, you know, making the better food choices. And oddly enough, you know, that's how I kind of re-stumbled back onto you was, you know, I used to be a listener of the other podcasts that you did. And then when I listened to your, like what's happened, what was I thinking? And then there was like one about weight and you were talking about your brother. And it's funny. I'd always wondered if that was your brother. Cause like yeah. You guys had enough features that were similar, but like, I'm like, and you know, maybe this is a wrong of me of thinking, but I'm like, Lee's a big dude. Lee talks about losing weight on the church. I'm like, but if this is his brother's like a fitness guru. So maybe it's not his brother.
No, you know? Trust me, he's the only Syatt with a six pack. He's great at what he does. We were not that close for many years. We're obviously very different people. But now with he was the one who gave me a lot of advice at the start of this and has kept me on track. I'm not following anything special. I'm just doing OMAD and counting calories. But he was very helpful. But yeah, no, we are brothers, and it's funny how life works out with that. But I'm really happy for you, man. I'm happy that you at least you don't have a super negative outlook on the show. It's not like you don't hate being on the show. It's amazing that you found your wife on it. Because I just did, and I don't know when it's gonna come out. I'm figuring out the release schedule. But I've been doing listener call-ins, and I just spoke with this lady, Kristen, who had the weight loss surgery, lost like over 100 pounds, 150 pounds, and has since gained 50 of it back. And when she reached out to me to be on the show, she said, "Hey, I'm not even really sure if you're going to want to talk to me." And I said, "Of course I want to." I mean, everyone, I think, who loses a significant amount of weight goes through periods of gaining it back. I there's only a couple people that I know who have lost the weight and have been able to keep it off. So as someone who is like starting fresh and looking to get a little bit healthier, do you have any advice for someone who might have gained some weight back?
Yeah, I think that my big and I get stuck in this too, you know, and it's hard to not, but like, don't compare your current self to that self that you were then, right? Like you're starting as the you that you are now, which is a different person. You might be in a different mental space. You might have different things going on in your life. So like, take who you are for who you are right now and think about the changes that you can make right now, right? Don't beat yourself up over where you once were and how you absolutely need to get back to that, because I think that's the rut I continued to put myself in, is like visualizing myself as this person who did this. And, oh, well, if I just eat like I ate on the ranch, then I'll get back to that. But that's not conducive for my lifestyle right now. So I had to really put myself in the shoes of who am I today? Where am I right now? What are the small changes and the constant changes that I can make to get back on that path? Because if you have to make all these massive changes and you're not in a controlled environment like a Biggest Loser, where you don't have to worry about life and real responsibilities, you're going to be so overwhelmed that you might turn back to food, which was likely probably most of our vices to deal with tough times. So it's
Right.
about making the small changes and the ones that can remain consistent and that you can keep up with every day to impact that change. And it might not happen as quickly, especially from weight loss surgery. I know that happens pretty quickly. So it might not happen as quick as it once did, but as long as you're seeing that progress. And, you mentioned earlier, you lost like 2 pounds last week. And I've tried to get back into the mindset that like 1 to 2 pounds a week for a year is 52 to 104 pounds. So like stay the course with the small wins.
Yeah. And it's the thing that I've noticed is, like, that's why I used to be a weigh yourself after every time I went to the bathroom kind of person when I was losing weight. And that'll drive you nuts. That'll just drive you insane. So now I really I weigh in on Tuesdays officially. I start weighing myself around Saturday to see where I am for the week. So 1 week I'll lose a pound and the next week I'll lose 5. But it's, I think everything you said was great. And I just couldn't be happier that you reached out, and thank you so much for coming on, Jeff.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited about what you're doing. Congratulations on your progress, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much to Jeff Nichols for coming on to the Waistline Podcast. It was great to talk to him. Thank you so much for reaching out. I wish you a lot of luck losing weight again, being healthy. It sounds like you and your wife are a great match, and I love that you guys have the support system together, and I have a much better understanding of the Biggest Loser now. It's easy to paint things one way, that they're just good or just bad, and it was refreshing to hear that obviously Jeff had some issues with the show, but that he overall enjoyed it. I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but had a positive experience. He met his wife. He met friends. He got healthy, and even though he's losing weight again, I think he understands that it needs to be a more sustainable, healthier way this time, so that he doesn't have to do it again, because that's all of us. And every time we gain weight back, we want it to be the last time that we lose weight. And this time he's doing it in a healthier way, and he is, I'm hopeful that he's as happy and healthy as he deserves to be. So thank you very much to Jeff for coming on. If you want to talk to Jeff, he is on, you can find him at Jeff Nichols. That's Jeff Nichols, Nichols, number 1414. So it's Jeff Nichols 14 on all social media, and go give him a follow. Tell him you heard him on the podcast or saw him on the podcast, and have a conversation with him. He's a great dude, very nice guy, and I am so thankful that he came on this week. Don't forget, we're here every Tuesday for the Waistline Podcast, and I will update you on my weight loss next week. Hopefully, who knows? Maybe I'll get to close to 75 pounds. We'll see what happens. But we're on the journey. I have my next goal is to get to 100 and 100 pounds down, not 100 pounds, and then we'll see from there. I have a long way to go, and even when I'm done, this podcast is very important to me and special to me, and I will be doing it just as a way to make sure I keep myself in check and make sure I don't go to Culver's. So thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you had a great week, or have a great week, a great life. Whenever you're watching and listening, thank you. I hope you're happy, and I love you. I'll talk to you soon on the next episode of the Waistline Podcast. Bye, guys.